welcome to 216, a Link to the Past Randomizer podcast. I am your host, Gear Agent. Here we are, episode 3. Today on the show, we've got Radical Sniper, aka Jesse. Great conversation with Jesse. I've done comms with Jesse in the past on a couple of races and have had a blast doing commentary with him. He's just a great commentator and someone that is really good at divulging information that doesn't feel like he's trying to teach you or talk down to you. And he's just entertaining as well. So I was excited to have him on the show and to hear his story, because even though I've done commentary with him and I've known him as part of the community the last couple of years, he's just kind of been on the outside of kind of the circle group that I hang out with. So I didn't know a lot about Jesse. I've watched his streams, really cool dude, but I just didn't know his story. And so to get to hear his story was awesome. So really excited to have Jesse on the show today. About to enter my favorite part of the year, and it's not the holidays. It's snowing outside right now. Kids are home because of the snow day. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the playoffs.
Playoffs? Don't talk about it. Playoffs? You kidding me? Playoffs?
League playoffs start today in the Open League and next week in the Invitational. And then also the NFL playoffs are just around the corner too. So love playoffs. Love the stakes of what the playoffs bring, especially in the league. I was mentioning this to someone else, but when you get to the bracket stage of most tournaments, it feels like a lot of the attention of the tournament kind of wanes until it gets to the finals. I think a lot of that is in part because in the regular season or the group stage, there are a million people participating. Everyone is invested because everyone is a part of it. And when you get to the brackets, that number usually drops to half, if not less than that. In the league playoffs, there's still a ton of people playing because it's teams of 3. So it does feel like people are a little bit more involved. Maybe that's just my perspective. I'm not sure. Regardless, let's look at the playoffs. Okay, let's start with the Open. In the Crystal Conference, I'll go through the 12 teams, and then I'll give you the 2 teams that I think are going to come out of the Crystal Conference and earn their invitation. All right, so the number 1 seed is the German team with the volleyball problem. They had 36 points. So they're number 1 overall. They have a bye in the first round. Number 2 is Reliable Archery Aces, also with 36 points. They have a bye in the first round. Number 3 is the Blue Trinex group. They've got 33 points, a bye in the first round. Number 5 is Great Name Pending, and they will be playing in the wildcard round. Number 6 is Die Nysen Frager. Totally pronounced that wrong. Apologize. They have 30 points. They're number 6 overall. They will be matched up against number 11, Saha's Kids, with 24 points. Number 7, No Shovel, No Go Mode. Let's see. They have 30 points, and they are matched up with yet another bonk with 27 points at number 10. Rage Against the Manettes is number 8 with 27 points. They are racing Spoiler Luck, which is number 9 with 27 points. So we got 10, 11. 10 is yet another bonk. 11 was Saha Kids. The last team, and they will be racing against Great Name Pending, is either Tempered Tantrum or But We're Buddies. They have a tiebreaker race because they both have 24 points. They're both 6-6 in the division. They both went 1-3 versus the top 2 teams in the division, and they have the same records versus other teams all the way down. So they are exactly the same. There's going to be a 1-game playoff between Tempered Tantrum and But We're Buddies. It's going to be an open race. 7-7 defeat Ganon. Winner makes it into the playoffs, and they will play Great Name Pending. That's exciting stuff. That's awesome. All right, so who do I think is going to be the top 2 teams coming out of this conference and earning an invite? I'm going to go with Great Name Pending. That's Breve, Sinhei, and Top Life. They're number 4 currently with 30 points. And I'm going to go with the German team with the volleyball problem. That's Shiva Hayes, Skipsy, and Swunch. Who knows? I feel like if you look at all the point totals, it's so close. It's super close. All right, in the Pendant Conference, the number 1 seed, Amish Paradise, 36 points. They have a bye. Pasta Picanha, 33 points. They have a bye. Number 3, Farm Friends, 30 points. They have a bye. And the last team with a bye is Chad or Kabuki Hundo Activist Department. They also have 30 points and a bye. Those are your top 4 seeds. Then you have at number 5, Aga's Backup Dancers with 30 points. And they're going to be faced up against, you got Poutine on My Cheesesteak with 24 points. That's the 12 seed. Next up, we have the Pug Hunters with 30 points. They're the number 6 seed. They'll be playing Taunt the Frog, who has 24 points and is the 11 seed. Number 7 is Crystal Roller Crew with 30 points. And they're going to be playing the Long Shots with 25 points. That's the 10 seed. And then the 8 and the 9. 8 is Asai with 30 points and NDA with 25 points. Now, my prediction for this, I really like Amish Paradise to come out of here. They're the top seed. They're 12-2 in the season. That's Zero Nix, Danny Music, and Dapper Worm Man. I think they're the favorites. They're the 1 seed. I'm going to take them. And I think for the other spot, I'm just going chalk. I'm going with the number 2 team, past the Picanha, which is Tepidino, James FNX, and PH. So who knows? I mean, again, you look at all these records, it's super close. And that's what makes the playoffs super fun. That's the Open League. It's kicking off Monday. There's already races on the schedule. So check that out. A lot of these races are going to be on Speed Gaming. Now for the Invitational, in the Light World Conference, I'm going to run down the top 8 teams. There are no buys. So the number 1 seed in the Light World Conference is the Pugs. Perfect Unadulterated Gaming Squad, 33 points. Number 2 is Last Locationeers with 30 points. And number 3 is Triple Clown Fiesta with 27 points. And number 4 is the Eastern Skippers. That's the top 4 teams. They had 27 points. The bottom 4 teams are Potato Pouch with 27 points, Bolas Azules with 24 points. They're number 6. Tal Roomies with 24 points, number 7. And Team Hime at number 8 with 21 points. So we got Pugs versus Hime, Last Locationeers versus Tal Roomies, Triple Clown Fiesta versus Bolas Azules, and the Eastern Skippers versus Potato Pouch. Now, so every round gets reseeded. So the highest seed will always play the lowest seed every round. In round 1, in the conference semifinals, in the conference finals, and then, of course, the finals. So let's go through it. Pugs versus Hime. Love Team Hime. Kermit was one of the first people in the community that I could call one of my friends. Big fan of those guys. They're going up against the Pugs. The Pugs have to be the favorite. It's just, they're really good. So I'm going to take the Pugs there. We've got the Last Locationeers versus Tile Roomies. Tile Roomies has always been a team that I've really rooted for. I really like those guys over there and have been a part of the league since I think season 2. Big fan of them. They had a rough early go of the season, but fought back and had a great second half to make the playoffs. Like there was a time midway through the season where it did not look like the Tile Roomies were going to make the playoffs. They're playing the Last Locationeers. Love this team. This was one of the top 4 teams in the Open last season. They came in and blew up the Invitational. Scottish Brave, Xander Kane, and Structural Mike. I'm not picking against them. I'm just not. I'm not picking against that team. They've got something to them. They're magic. So I'm going to take the Last Locationeers in that race, even though I really like to root for the Tile Roomies. Triple Clown Fiesta versus Bolas Azules. This is a tough one because, again, if Scholzer and Yoshi are on the team still, then I'm probably going to pick Triple Clown. Big fan of Illis, who was one of the replacements, but I'm going to take Bolas Azules here. And then the Eastern Skippers versus Potato Pouch. I'm never picking against Zelga. Sorry. Magno and Broger and Tam, awesome team. They've done really well this season. I'm not picking against Zelga, so I got the Eastern Skippers there. So that would put Bolas Azules versus the Pugs. Again, got to go with the Pugs. And that would put the Eastern Skippers versus Last Locationeers, which would be really tough for me to pick. And even though I said I'm not picking against Zelda, I'm going to go Last Locationeers. That would put the conference finals between the top 2 teams in the Kakariko division, the Pugs and the Last Locationeers. Let's go with the upset, taking Last Locationeers in the finals. Okay, I said I wasn't going to predict the Invitational, but here I am predicting the Invitational. In the Dark World Conference, number 1, Divine Beastie Boys, we had 39 points. Number 2, OK Dudes, 36 points. Number 3, Bottles on Empty, 33 points. To Infinity and Pagog, 30 points at number 4. Number 5 is Don't Forget the Trackers with 24 points. They win the tiebreaker over WJPDTB, who's the 6th seed, also with 24 points. JKLOL is the 7th seed with 21 points. And Beats from the East are the final seed with 21 points. So here we go. Divine Beastie Boys versus Beats from the East. I'm sorry, Google. I got to pick Divine Beastie Boys. I can't pick against us. OK Dudes versus JKLOL. Big fan of all these teams. I can't pick against OK Dudes. They're just good. They're just too good. They really are. Bottles on Empty versus JPDTB. Bottles on Empty is another one of those teams that came out of the open and have just been on fire. On fire. They're the team that prevented us from having a perfect season. So they're scary. They're super scary. Willard's team is really good too and have been a staple in the playoffs. I wouldn't be surprised to see them go far, but I'm going to take Bottles on Empty. The final matchup would be 2 Infinity and Pagog versus Don't Forget to Track Us. These teams actually split week 6, which I think might have been Swordless. I can't remember. 2 really good teams, though. Don't Forget to Track Us, Ikir, Perdwong, and Flipio. And 2 Infinity and Pagog with Will, WC, Relkin, and Humbug. I just got to go, I think, with the favorites, which would be 2 Infinity and Pagog. So I think that's chalk for my predictions there in round 1. So that would put Divine Beastie Boys versus 2 Infinity and Pagog and OK Dudes versus Bottles on Empty. This is where it gets hard. Because again, I'm a part of the teams. I sound like a dick if I predict myself, and I sound like I don't believe in us if I don't predict us. I'm going to take the Divine Beastie Boys over 2 Infinity and Pagog. I just got to. Just got to. Now, OK Dudes versus Bottles on Empty is really tough. Really tough. GGW's one of the best runners, constantly at the top of the ladder. Telethar has come on the scene and just blown everyone away. Dude's so good, and he got there so fast. They have Hitzian. That's a coin toss, right? Bottles on Empty with Maniacal, Ninjembro, and Maximum Barnage, again, have just come in and wrecked house. I don't know. I don't know who to pick. I think I'm just going to go chalk again and take OK Dudes. So that would put the Divine Beastie Boys versus OK Dudes in the finals, in the conference finals. I'm going to take us. I just have to. We have Gamachu, right? Like, you just can't pick against Gamachu. I feel stupid doing these predictions. So we have Last Locationeers versus the Divine Beastie Boys. I'll take the Last Locationeers to win the whole thing. There we go. It's so hard to predict, especially when you're a part of it, but it's fun. All right, so league playoffs are going. No more wasting any time with that. Let's get to the interview. Here's Jesse. All right, Jesse, super glad you're on the show. And well, let me ask you this. RadicalSniper99, that's what you go by, but I feel like everyone calls you Jesse. Is that... Where did that happen? And is it cool if we just go by Jesse, or do you want me to call you Radical Sniper? How do you want to do this?
I'm completely fine with Jesse. That's the thing. I put it, I guess, Discord. I was in a few Discords and I was like, I've never guessed I've been a big fan of the gamer tag. So I always just put Jesse in front of it. And then it just became that's who I am.
Yeah, I think everyone knows you as Jesse more so than Radical Sniper, though I feel like it almost goes hand in hand. So maybe I don't know, but we'll go with Jesse, which is easy for me because that's actually my name as well.
Right.
Right. So I hear it all the time. So a lot of times early on, we were going on, I'd hear, Jesse's on comms or whatever. I'm like, what? Oh no, not me. That's Radical Sniper. Thanks for doing the show, man. I'm really glad to have you on. Yeah, I'm pretty excited about this one. So we talked to your teammate last season, Leoria, and we got a lot of history about JKLOL and kind of her introduction to the game. I'm curious to see how your introduction kind of mirrors her or is different, because I believe you kind of both started around the same time with the mentor tournament. Is that right?
So that's actually the funny thing is I'm part of that class, I guess, that year of people who joined in, but I actually was not in the mentor tourney.
Okay.
I started during season 0 of Ladder, really. So season 0 starts beginning of 2020. And I'm just like, I had done my first rando 2019 for Extra Life. And 2020 rolls around and Dunka's got the ladder started in season 0. I'm like, oh, let me try. And then I just go full into ladder, and I didn't do mentor tourney with all those people.
Okay. But you were in that kind of crowd. Was that kind of the crowd that you started associating with right on when you started? Yes. Even though you weren't playing?
So I always say that there's I think nowadays everybody's like, oh, commentator, but back when I started, I feel like I was the mixer guy. I was on Mixer. So I'd do a ladder race and somebody would be like, who they played, and they'd be like, he's not streaming, and then be like, no, I'm streaming. I'm just on Mixer because Dunka doesn't care what platform you were on at the time.
So before we get, I need to hear your thoughts. Why Mixer of all things? This was the now defunct. Was it Facebook that put this together? Or who was the Mixer?
Microsoft.
Okay.
Or it was separate. I think they were originally called Beam, if I remember correctly.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know. I had been watching some stuff. Like, I'm more of an Xbox gamer, like, or it had been for a while. Like, I started off Nintendo, but more became Xbox, and the Xbox One had the native streaming on it. And I just tried it out of nowhere, the Mixer, and just stuck with it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that makes sense. I thought it was more of like, no, I'm gonna be a rebel and go to Mixer as opposed to Twitch.
I'm leaving Twitch and joining Mixer. No,
yeah. Because I remember there was like some big streamers, wasn't it like Ninja or somebody? I can't remember. It was like, I'm gonna do Mixer now instead of Twitch, and yeah, that's now gone away. Sorry to interrupt.
No,
yeah. So you were saying you were doing lots of ladder races on Mixer.
Yeah. So that first season, I do ladder, or like 0, 1, and 2. I probably did 100 ladder races across the first 2 seasons. And that first season especially, I lined up with Vortex. Almost every other race, it felt like he and I got matched up. He and I were the 2 newbies who just raced all the time. And because we were both terrible, it just, that's how ladder works.
Sure. Yeah.
But I talked to him some because he was doing Mentor Tourney and joined up with the 40 bonks. I wasn't part of Mentor Tourney at all. I just, fell in with that crowd.
Sure.
So that's kind of where it all got started.
Yeah. Let's take it even further back then. Let's go to your early days, childhood. What were you playing? Did you play a lot of games? Were you a Nintendo guy? What's your kind of background there?
We've always had games in the house since I was a kid. I grew up, I feel like I had a Nintendo. Don't remember it really that much.
Oh, okay.
But Super Nintendo, Sega Genesis, and the one that's always a bit more obscure is the NEC Turbo Graphics.
Yeah. Okay.
I had one of those. I also had the handheld Turbo Express.
Wow. That's like true gamers. Like, you're not just like a casual, like, oh, we've got a Nintendo. Look at us. Everyone's got a Nintendo. But man, you go there. You're true gaming.
People talk about Bonk. I'm like, that's, I feel like the one character you mentioned, somebody's like, I know that character. From where?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So yeah, I've had that for pretty much ever. It's funny. I actually have a Pocket on order from Analog right now, and they recently came out with the adapter cart pack. And I was like, I know we got rid of the Turbo Express at one point, or the Turbo Graphics, and I was like, but I know we kept the games. So I was like, gotta dig, find all the old games.
That's awesome. Yeah. Were you the envy of your friends because you had that like console that not everyone had?
Not a lot of people noticed it. I mean, it's funny to look at it because that was Bomberman too.
Yeah.
So like, I remember having the multi-tap for Super Nintendo, but also a similar thing for TurboGrafx. So,
yeah.
But we always had games, we were Super Nintendo, N64. We had a Dreamcast. I bought a PlayStation when I went to college. No, we had a PlayStation. I bought a PS2 in college. And was pretty much big on Nintendo, but Xbox came out and my dad thought it was a cool thing to get. We had Halo at the time, and then we were one of those like early adopters of Xbox Live.
Oh, okay.
So it was my dad, my brother, and I were sharing like the one account, which is actually where the Radical Sniper came from. It was, silly high school naming conventions, right?
Sure, totally. Yeah, I don't even want to mention what my high school gamer tags were because they're so corny. Yeah,
right. And that's the thing that's part of why I never have really felt the name. Always, it's just been, what's the name I have?
Right. Right.
And then like we forgot the credit card we used, So we lost the original Radical Sniper, and then we just made a new account with 99 at the end.
Nice. That's hilarious. So it sounds like you were more of a variety gamer as opposed to, I want this sort of experience. Is that right? It sounds like you're playing everything. I mean,
there were games that always went back to, like Super Nintendo. Like, I guess it's Link to the Past really was one of my favorite games growing up.
Okay.
Super Mario RPG, Super Mario World. I have some fond memories of Super Metroid. Like if I look at the 64, GoldenEye, Banjo-Kazooie, Mario 64. So like any console I can look at and be like, yeah, there was a few games that were like really, really that special.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I feel like nowadays it's like, oh, I can just buy whatever I want, you know, to really be a special game. It has to do something different or like I finish a game now in this digital environment and I delete it.
Sure. Totally. It's totally different. But I mean, it's still in your cloud as well. So you say you have a fondness for those Nintendo games. But again, it feels like you're kind of all over the place, right? Like it feels like, I don't know, maybe this is just my experience where it's like I get tunnel visioned into a style or a game where I'm like, oh, I'm just so obsessed with this game. And maybe that's why I play Rando so much. But even as a kid, it's like there's like a million games out there and we go to Blockbuster or whatever every once in a while, or it was actually Home Video Express, and we'd rent a Nintendo game or something and play like a variety. We just didn't have access to a lot. So, but it sounds like you didn't have that same sort of experience. You're playing both Nintendo and Sega and TurboGrafx, and then, as you said, moved on to other stuff. Is that right?
We had I wouldn't call it limited. I guess we had a good variety. Like I'm looking right next to where I game more, and like we had the carrying or the storage case for all the games, and we had a good number of games always. But it was, you know, there were some that were, you know, when I talk about the Super Nintendo, there were those, or like Mario All-Stars and like all those good ones. And then you had, I had like a classic Batman and Robin game, but like, it's not, that wasn't the game I went back to all the time.
Right.
You know, I
played that once and you're kind of throw that one away digitally if you could.
Right. Like it's there, but you know, I still remember all the times it'd be like Super Mario RPG. I'd start a new file on a weekend because we had strict rules in the house too. No gaming on a school night.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
So play hard and worked hard.
Yeah, for sure. So as you moved on with the Xbox, it sounded like the Xbox kind of stuck with you then a little bit more as you got older. What were you playing as you got into the Xbox? And I'm guessing the 360 and stuff as well. Yeah.
So I guess, you know, everybody goes through a shooter phase at a certain point, I guess. And it was, you know, Halo was the big thing. But with this 360, it's actually the achievements that have kind of become like my weakness. Okay. So like I pay a lot of attention to getting achievements in games, having a gamer score that I actually care about. And I guess at the same time, it was kind of, you know, that was around the Wii, and I don't know, the Wii kind of just never grabbed me the same way. Sure.
Is the 360, is that where it started with the achievements and stuff?
Yeah.
Okay.
Completely was then.
Yeah, that's a whole aspect that I just never got into. I don't know what it was necessarily. I think it was because I wasn't gaming a lot at that time, probably. But so when you're going for achievements and stuff, is it again trying to master one game, or are you doing a lot of variety of stuff?
So depends on my mood and how much I love what I'm doing.
Okay.
Like I'll be honest, like there's probably, I'm looking at my screen right now of just stuff that I've been playing in the last few days, and it's all over the place. But like if I go, you know, we talk about games that are special, I guess, you know, stuff. I have a section that I don't delete of games that I just loved that much and how I approach those. So like I did all of Hollow Knight, but I streamed all of Hollow Knight. That was me streaming, not just like beating the story. That was, I streamed trying to get all the achievements in it.
So I see.
And that was something that was like, oh, I'm streaming this on the weekends. So during the week, maybe I practice some stuff in it and people don't get to see it, but I'm going to stream any honest progress in the game. So
is it a completionist thing? You like to 100% the game?
That or do absolutely nothing. Yes. People talk about piles of shame. I have games that I probably got one achievement and haven't touched.
Sure. Yeah. But I think I'm guessing it's probably because you don't enjoy those games as much, right? Like I feel like if you were drawn to it. I don't know
if I don't enjoy them or it's just, you buy
not enough hours.
I mean, who has ever enough time? But
right.
You buy a couple of games, you start one of them and then you start the other one and the other one grabs you that much little bit more and then you forget to go back.
Yeah.
And then it's like, oh, why did I not play this game? This is like so me. I don't know.
So going back to the Xbox, it was Halo though that kind of hooked you into the Xbox.
Yeah, that was definitely the big one.
Yeah, did you stay with that franchise as it progressed?
The first trilogy, yes. 4 came out, and I honestly have not really continued with the series. I own 4. I could play 5 anytime and Infinite anytime because of the Game Pass stuff, but just haven't.
Yeah. As far as like the competitiveness, did you play Halo? Because I don't know. I never really got into Halo. The Halo that I played was Halo 1 and a little bit of Halo 2. And Halo 1, we would do in college, we'd get everyone's Xboxes together and basically LAN it together. That was kind of our way of doing big competition and stuff. But were you more competitive in Halo or some other games? Did you have like a competitive itch?
It was more always just fun. Like I did play on Xbox Live, but it wasn't ever like, oh no, my rank. It was, it was for fun. I look at like freshman year of college, I was living on campus and like I had a group of friends that we just played Melee every night.
Okay.
So like even then it was still Nintendo stuff for me.
Sure. But you didn't have like anything to scratch that competitive itch gaming wise? Was there anything else that you were doing that might have been competitive?
I mean, I've always been.
Do you approach it more casually?
I like to believe I'm pretty casual. I'll be honest. This season of League has shown me I have a darker edge at times to things and opinions and feelings.
Sure.
I like to come off as being pretty casual, but I know that it's there always.
Yeah.
There's always that dark feeling and like I don't want to hate what I'm doing. Like I've said, if I ever truly hated doing this, I would probably quit.
Sure. But did you find that the competitiveness came from playing rando, or was that kind of in you throughout your gaming history?
I honestly don't know. Like I enjoy gaming for gaming. Like,
sure.
I'm a single player person very frequently. Like co-op stuff's not always and even like online competitive multiplayer, like I am not the kind of person who wants to log hundreds of hours. My brother's the opposite. Like Call of Duty stuff, he loves the online multiplayer for Call of Duty. I can't stand it.
Right. So you're more of the story aspect. You enjoy, or maybe just whatever the game is providing then, right? Like,
yeah, I want to experience games. I want to try something like puzzles, platformers. Like I love platformer games probably the most, but I'll try anything.
So when did you first discover Twitch and streaming?
I guess I remember watching probably a friend of mine had posted something about like a GDQ.
Okay.
And because I don't remember watching much else. Like I have a distinct feeling that there was a day when I was like, who would want to watch somebody play a video game?
Right.
Like, I want to play the game. I don't want to watch you play it. And I got to believe it was a GDQ thing. I was like, oh, it's charity. Like, let me see. And I think everybody talks about like seeing an Andy race then as kind of like their exposure point to the rando scene. And I think it was a GDQ that kind of exposed me to that.
That was before Rando, or was that 2018 when you first kind of discovered?
I probably watched a couple of GDQs before then.
Okay.
And because I think the big draw for me back then was seeing like the Super Metroid thing at the end. Like that was the cool.
Sure. Yeah, for sure. Did it make you or inspire you to want to do any sort of speed runs on your own?
I always thought about it, never was going to. And I remember like after the GDQ stuff, I just started paying attention also to speed gaming channels, and it was like, I think it was the 512 Swiss, that infamous one that I saw, and I was like, I went like all in on watching Rando because it was like I loved this game and just kept watching. Didn't want to play, but I was just like, let me see this and watch an old game that I loved.
So what was it that made you hesitant to jump into it then? Because I think the story for a lot of people is, oh, this is cool, let me try it.
The hesitancy, I guess, was just
too many other games to play.
Yeah. I don't know. I was the kind of person who wasn't playing on a PC ever. Like I didn't have the desire to go and figure out all the equipment set up and all that kind of stuff. And it was just, I'll watch it. I'll enjoy it. I understood it. Like I have this suspicion that the rando community is actually just super intelligent. That we're all just really, really smart people because it just takes that to do this.
I don't know if I agree with that assessment, but I
mean, there are parts that we're definitely dumb. Like we keep coming back to a game that punishes us for no reason.
For sure. I think what I'm interested in, something that I didn't really know about you before we started talking, is how much more you're into a variety of stuff. Because I feel like with a lot of these interviews that I do with people is they have their lane, right? Like my lane is this, or they have like just a couple of lanes where they play certain games. But it feels like you're really into the experience of all of the different games that you could play and trying to experience what that game is giving you.
Yeah, I mean, there's just something to it to be able to see something so different in a genre. Like you like music games, and then you're like, okay, I try Guitar Hero, and then you get into the different niches. And like a few years ago, there was this game Sayonara Wild Hearts that came out, and I was just like, it looks like a music rhythm type action game, and I was like, what is this? And you find, there's a deep affecting story told within all these music scenes, and you're like, why? Like, right. I don't know, I can get super absorbed into one game, like still like Hollow Knight, Tunic, like stuff like that. I'll fall down the rabbit hole and be stuck in like Link to the Past.
Sure. I mean, yes, there's an aspect of what I'm talking about, of sticking to a lane because you're a rando player, right? Yeah. We all get kind of trapped into this lane of Link to the Past. But when you go to a Radical Sniper stream, it's not just Link to the Past. I feel like I've seen you play a lot of different stuff on stream. And not saying that no one else does this, but I do feel like it's not an aspect. I feel like there's a lot of people that stream because they have to stream Link to the Past, right? That's their whole reason for streaming.
I think the interesting piece there is, when you've talked to people, like listening to some of the discussion, like it also comes down to that partner versus, what I want out of Twitch.
Sure.
For me, Twitch is just sharing a game, have I fallen into the times where I'm just like, I'm going to play Zelda and I'll play it 5 days in a row. And sorry if you don't want to see me play Zelda today, but it's what I want to do.
Right. Sure.
Versus, I need to make sure that the viewers are coming in. Like that's so hard. Sure. Like I can't imagine. I know what I want to do with my life. It's not this. It's not Twitch. It's
right.
Like I have career goals outside of this. I have my, the work that I do.
But so for you, Twitch again is more of your casual time.
Yeah.
But it's not just used for racing, right? Like, I feel like there's a lot of us in the community that just use Twitch as a racing platform. Like, we just use it because we kind of have to race. You, because again, you like to experience multiple games, almost want to share that experience, right? Is that kind of what it is? It's like, I'm gaming, so let me have fun with my friends while I do this or I explore these games.
If somebody sees me play something and goes, that looked fun, I'm going to go buy that game. Like, I think that's rewarding. Like, you know, the number of times I've had somebody see some game that completely would have gone under the radar and go, I want to play that. Like, that's a good feeling.
But were you streaming pre racing? You were doing Mixer before you got into racing, right? So what was the audience a little bit different then? Yeah.
It was just my Xbox friends. Like, you know, a few of us started streaming.
I see.
I always say that, like, as much as I enjoy the opportunities I've had on Twitch, I am I've been on Twitch now 2.5 years. And I was on Mixer for like 3 years. Let's call it.
Sure.
Like, I am much bigger on Twitch than I ever was on Mixer. I'm not going to deny it. Like, I'm sorry, you know, Mixer, like, that's just what it was. Right. But it was me hanging out with friends.
I see.
There are features I wish Twitch would incorporate. Like, there's stuff I miss still about Mixer. But, you know, what am I going to do there?
Sure. Like what?
The one I always talk about is co-streaming. I know, like, multi-Twitch. Okay. Everybody's like, that's so cool, like multi-Twitch. And I'm just like, it's a poor man's co-stream. Like, when I could have, like, somebody would go to my channel and not only do they see my game, but they see my friend's game. And I would play. The first one I really remember was I did a full playthrough of The Witness with a close Xbox friend, and she and I worked through all the puzzles together, and it was great. But, like, you could watch both of us playing, and there was a single united chat all in one. And it was so simple to work through it. And, like, sorry, that's good to me. Like, that was so much more fun. Then, like, now it's like she and I still do streams on Twitch, but it's not nearly the same. Like,
right, because you have to have
here's the link to our multi-Twitch, and you better be watching my chat and her chat and my stream and her stream, and it sort of gives you the impression that you're doing it.
Right. Yeah, not quite the same thing. All right, so you're watching Link to the Past Randomizer, you're streaming a little bit on Mixer, doing your Xbox stuff. What finally pushes you over the edge to start playing Link to the Past Randomizer?
So I was doing Extra Life, and I was like, you know what? I want to try it. I've been watching it. I feel like I understand the game. I just want to play it again. Like, let me play Link to the Past. So Extra Life that year, I figure out how to set everything up. I'm like, how do I track? How do I download the game? How do I set up SNES 9X? Let's just do this. And I play it. One seed. Like, I know everybody's like first stories are usually longer. It wasn't like a super long open seed or something. Just wanted to try it, and it may be under 3 hours.
Okay. Not bad.
No. And I had fun with it. It was good. I was just like, but that was it. 2020 rolled around, and I'd always kind of said, do I want to try racing? And I think I had always heard the SRL stuff or whatever, and it was just never something that I wanted to spend the time to figure out.
Sure.
And then Ladder came around, and I was like, oh no, this is manageable. Like, and I asked the question, I was like, Dunka, I'm on Mixer. Do you care? You know, like, I'm not on Twitch. And I know that was the other thing at the time, was like, I'm not moving platforms. I don't have a desire to be on Twitch at this point. Like, I have an account. I just don't want to be there. And at the time, he was just like, yeah, no problem. So it was an easy kind of shift.
Sure. And yeah, and Ladder made it so you didn't have to even mess with race time, right? Like, that just allowed you to race right in Discord.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
So no issues. And I think that was part of it. It was, it was just easy to set up to be on ladder.
Yeah.
And then,
sure.
I do that season, like that first season, I'm still like, I'm just going to do Mixer. And then Mentor Tourney starts. I didn't join it because I was like, I'm not switching. And then June of 2020, we're all in the pandemic, but that's when Mixer decided it was going to shut down. So
right.
I started making the shift and I was like, I wish I joined Mentor Tourney.
Right. For sure. That's hilarious. You mentioned Extra Life. Do you think you could explain Extra Life just a little bit? Are you still doing some Extra Life streams? I think you are.
Just
right?
did my 4th year.
Yeah. So
I've done 4 years now. Extra Life is a children's charity. You partner up with a local children's hospital, and so all the money you get goes to that one children's hospital. First year was on Mixer. Then second year, I've done the 24 hours. The idea is you do a 24-hour stream. First, third, and fourth years, I did 24 hours. Second year, I did it as 2 12 hours, health stuff at the time. But yeah, no, I like doing it. It's hard to stay awake. Last couple of years got a little easier. I've had some people over in the overnight block.
Nice. That's one of the best things to come out of the whole streaming gaming thing is the charity aspect of it. Like, GDQ is obviously the most notable one, but it feels like there's a lot of ways that the gaming community has given back where it allows even streamers who aren't doing it full time, like yourself, to find ways to raise money in pretty cool ways. And I don't know, it's really one of the best aspects of the whole Twitch and streaming community thing for sure. All right. So you mentioned that you raced Vortex on the ladder and you kept getting paired up with him and you kind of get introduced to the 40 Bunks crew. First, can you explain where the 40 Bunks name comes from, or do you even know that? And then how did that go about? Like, how was it finding your community, even though you weren't playing in that mentor tournament?
So CJ is the one who came up with the 40 Bunks. Where he named the community, I don't really remember. It was just his thing.
Yeah, and then the community just adopted it then, right? Like the CJ's community, who's all kind of the group. Yeah, okay.
And I joined in, and really what happened was League Season 3, I guess, a bunch of people were there and trying to find a team of people that I was kind of familiar with, but not really hung out with because I wasn't a mentee, but it was along that skill level. Mm-hmm. And then found like 2 guys on the periphery of that community contacted me. So I was Amish Paradise for season 3. And like that whole first season, I probably night races, we practiced every night.
Oh, wow.
Like every night there was a pickup race of 6 to 10 people, probably in 40 Bunks at least.
Wow.
Whether it was co-op or mystery or keys or whatever else. Like when you look at that League Season 3, there were 5 teams in that Discord who were brand new people in Open League who we all kind of just found our way into playoffs. And it was because of that. It was because we bashed our heads against each other. We'd finish a race and be like, what'd you do? Why'd you do it? And we would just talk it through. So
as you're kind of finding your community in the 40 Bunks and you join Amish Paradise, do you find that everyone in their skills progressing pretty quickly? Because that crew, is one of the famous mentor tournaments, has a lot of members from that mentor tournament, but everyone there got really good. It felt like really fast. Was it just because you guys were grinding so much during that League 3 season 3?
Between that and just the time everybody had, what do you do when you're stuck home all the time? I could work from home. Like I was working really hard on, I'm a PhD student and I had time to focus on some of my research at the time. So like there was that, but at the same time I was like, well, I can do this as well. Sure. I I gained 2 hours a day in not having to commute to the office.
Sure. Yeah. So I mean, you see it, right? Like the progress that a lot of the 40 Bonks members made over that time was relatively quick. Are you able to see it from an insider's perspective?
I think so. Like I've been a mentor now, the last 2 mentor tourneys, and I love working with people. It's been so much fun, but it's a different feel. Like I've talked with friends who were part of that mentor tourney that year for us, and like I know what difference the free time made.
Yeah.
Like I remember talking to people who were like, oh, I'm having a practice session with my mentor. Like, oh, I'm going to work with Gamma today for a bit, or Shireen, or like whoever else. Like I just heard the names. I'm like, okay, have fun. And like nowadays it's like, yeah, the mentees are able to get a lot better, but we don't have, limitless time right now.
Sure.
Everybody's like, yeah, I've got work. I've got a tournament.
Right. Yeah. Because tournaments are constantly going now, for sure. So kind of tell me about your experience with Amish Paradise, that first season 3 for you.
So I was with Jawsome Sauce and Zero Nix. Wouldn't trade it. We had a lot of fun doing everything. We got to conference semis, and we lost to the proverbial favorite of the whole league that season. Oops. The infamous Ramon season. He knocked us out they knocked us out in 5 games. So we had a great time. Like I'm friends with those guys, still talk to them. But moved on afterwards.
Yeah. I mean, the season looks like Jocelyn went 9-2. You went 7-5. That's a pretty successful first season, in a competitive environment. This was the first season that the Open and Invitational were a thing. So, I think
it's scary to think that season we were a game away from getting an invite.
Yeah. That's
if
so
I
crazy.
beat Rayland or Ramon in one of those 2 games, that's invitational for us.
Yeah. And things completely change, right? Because next season you end up joining up with your current team, JKLOL.
Yeah. And I know Leo went over some of it, but it really was just, those were the 2 I hung out with the most.
Sure.
Like, I was clearly a 40 Bonkers. Jaws and Nick were around, but like, that'd be like pull them in for stuff more often.
Sure.
When it came to like core hanging out with 40 Bonks, it was them. It was, it was my current team a lot more. And like just the amount of time I spent with them, I was like, I don't want to leave the guys, but I don't feel like I'm as close to them as I am these people now.
Sure. And so
and
that's
luckily,
what it was.
Luckily the feeling was mutual with with Leo and them. Like she DMs me and we're talking. We're like, yeah, let's do this. So I go to Jaws and Nick and I'm like, hey guys, I've got an offer to move teams right now. And like, it's not that I don't enjoy this. It's just, I feel like this is where I want to go now. So
yeah, it's just about playing with friends, right? Like, it's not that you didn't enjoy playing with Amish Paradise, but you get a chance to play with your best friends in the community, right? Like,
yeah.
And that's kind of what League is what makes League fun is the chance to play with your friends. So I fully understand that. Turned out you guys were pretty good. That season.
No, last season was a lot of fun.
Yeah, it went to the finals. Also 12-2.
Yeah, I'll be honest. We I don't know if this is a good thing to say. We were, I don't want to call it bored, but we kind of goofed off during the season. Like, especially compared to League Season 3. Like I said, League Season 3, we're practicing all the time. League Season 4, the 3 of us took up Super Metroid.
Okay. All right.
We were like, let's learn how to do this game. Let's learn how to play the any%. Let's learn Hundo. Let's play SMZ3.
Sure.
We would still practice the modes, but we were just like, we don't have to play as much every night.
Well, that's the thing, right? You progressed, right? At this point, when season 4 comes, it's not so much of we need to grow this much. Like we're constantly getting better at the game for sure and learning and stuff. And playing does that. But at a certain point, practice does what? Like, there's only so many times you can practice a regular open seed or whatever like that. So, yeah, I totally understand that.
Yeah. So that season was completely different. I don't know. I feel like the first 2 years of me being in Rando up until the end of this year's main for me, I had been racing with a chip on my shoulder of just like, I know I'm new, but like every moment was kind of just like, I want to prove something. And that's where that competitive thing comes in. Like, I don't believe I'm that way, but I'll be honest, when main tourney came around this year, I was like, I'm going to do something. Because 2021 main, I didn't get to play. Like I've always, like, there was always the feeling of like, I missed an opportunity that year and have to do it.
Like you didn't get to play because you didn't make the cut, or you had personal reasons that you weren't able to play that year?
It's always one of those things that I don't know if people noticed that year. I was in the 128 and I had to drop from the tourney that year.
Oh, okay.
I was, and I can tell, like, I know who took my place. Bentisi was one of the odd man in because of my drop. I've made no bones about discussing my health issues that came in 2020, 2021. So like 2020, I got diagnosed with diabetes and I had retinal hemorrhage in both of my eyes over the course of like 6 months.
Oh, wow. Wow.
So I bleed in both eyes at different points. I still pretty much race with one eye. I pretty much only see through one eye right now. But I had been playing forever with just my left eye, and main tourney quals 2021 conclude. I'm in the group. I find out who I'm going to play. And then one night, my left eye has the retinal hemorrhage.
Oh, so you're not able to see at all then, right?
So what happened was that, that night, I'm like, I don't know what's going to happen. I think, like, is this just an allergy? Is this something else? The next morning I wake up and I'm like, no, I had one. I go see my eye doctor. He's like, let's get you ready for surgery. And I'm like, in the 2 weeks between then and surgery, I think I played one seed the one night because I could see kind of out of my left eye, but I couldn't do any detail. Like I couldn't have hammer yumped.
Oh, sure.
Like, you know, like I couldn't see that, but I could get around a seed. But I wasn't gonna compete. And then, just the recovery from there, it was kind of like, I don't know what it's gonna be. So, but after getting my sight back and being roughly the same, I did cross keys tourney last year. And then I was like, so when main came around this year, I'm like, I am not missing main, I qualified once, I'm going to qualify again, and we're going to, try to be good and make a statement, even with as deep as this community is now.
Sure. And who knows what would have happened in 2021, right? Like you made the group, you placed well, and then, stuff happened.
It was one of those modes that I had done so much work. Like that was the mode that I like, that hard standard. I was just like, I'm going to learn how to play this. That's when I feel like I took another step forward, and it was just like, ouch. Like,
yeah. So
like when I talk about that chip on the shoulder, like that's why.
Yeah. Yeah. That makes sense. Yeah. I didn't know all that. So I take it because you're now playing and stuff more that the surgery was successful and you're able to see things now. And is there still that worry about what could happen?
So without all the gory detail, the diabetes is under better control. They lasered and surgically like cleaned up the eyes to get rid of all the bad blood vessels. If anybody wants to research what it is, diabetic retinopathy. Just the diabetes constricts blood flow to the eyes, so some blood vessels there continually are dying and being restored by new ones that aren't good. So like the compounding effect of it just kind of, results in this just mess of terribly weak blood vessels, and eventually, like, if it goes on long enough, you have what happens to me. And that was the thing. Like, I just had no idea I was diabetic. Like, everybody's like, were you using the bathroom excessively? Were you always thirsty? I'm like, none of these. Like, I don't know. I didn't know. So
yeah. Yeah. If you have none of the signs, how are you supposed to diagnose yourself? For sure. Yeah, that's tough. Well, I'm glad it sounds like you're doing better, and you're on the way of maintaining a healthy lifestyle, right? Like, because that's a lot with diabetes is like trying to, sure, is managing all of that. Yeah, that's tough. But you are doing better now, right? Like, so you did 2022 tournament. How did that go?
Top 64, eliminated by P-Train.
Okay.
And P-Train and I went to 3 games, and it's funny because our first game, we got, I think it was an Enemizer, and I mirrored out of the TR boss. And that was the difference.
Wow.
So
that's
like
frustrating.
He and I were super close, and like that's the moment where you're just like, okay, this is, I can hang. Like, I've seen enough of P-Train to know that, like, this isn't, I'm not so far behind. I know where I can get better. I know that the execution, I still falter at times, but like, I made races of it.
Do you feel like that chip was able to be eased off your shoulder a bit after the 2022 main tournament? Because the league is different, right? Like, the main tournament is one thing. The league is something different, even though they're like the two big things. The main tournament is just you. So I can understand why that would cause more of a chip on your shoulder. Do you feel like it's less there, or do you feel like you've earned your spot in the community or whatever?
Yeah, I mean, I know where it is now. Like, I feel like if I enter a race, I'm not, I still notice, oh, I'm playing this person, or I played this person today in ladder. Like, you don't not notice it, but at the same time, I don't have that same feeling of like, this is a lost cause, or I have to prove something anymore. I think that's there. Yeah. I mean, there's I found what I want out of the community. Like, I enjoy doing this. I have so much fun playing the game. Like I said, if I wasn't enjoying it, I would have stopped.
Sure. But there's that sense of like, do I fit? Do I belong? All this time that I've put in, has it been worth it? Right? Does that sort of can come up for people where it's like, I need to prove myself, right? Because I have spent so many hours doing all of this and putting my heart into it or whatever. And then, top 64 is really good. I feel like that's kind of a validating moment, right?
Of course. I think the hard part is like, you always, when you take a loss, it's, why did I lose?
Sure.
And I've come to the realization that I don't get pissed off by the rando nature so much. I think it bothers me. Like, I can lose a race. Like, I look at League this season and I'm like, this rando thing didn't go my way. Like, and I hate that. Like, that bothers me in the moment, but I accept that, like, I'm not going to route a certain way just because, like, that's what happened. Like, I have no reason to check these chests and it's silver arrows. Oh, darn. Like, that's life. Right. I get more annoyed if I don't execute to where I think I can. Like, that bothers me so much more. Is like,
sure, but that's I know based that my on you.
Well, that's the thing. Like, that's how I look at it now, is like, I'll play the best I can and we'll hope it turns out in my favor today.
Yeah. You started dabbling a little bit in NMG, right? just to dabble?
Yeah, I have a weird relationship with NMG. I started it probably around the time I started rando stuff, or really seriously doing rando. I am not the person, like, I've watched you play recently, actually, and it's like, I feel like you and I have such a similar relationship to NMG. Of the, I don't want to practice it. I don't want to learn the room strats. I don't want to watch FMG.
Yep. Yeah.
But I want the sub 90.
Yes.
So like, I feel for your journey right now on that. Like, it is, it's mine. Like,
yeah.
I got my sub 90 this year, doing that. And it's just it's painful because like, you realize like my execution's there. Like, there's definitely stuff I could easily do better if I actually worked on it, but I don't want to. Like, I don't want to devote that time to it. That's boring to me. I like rando.
Right.
I'm a rando player.
Totally. It's the room grind, right? It's getting every single room is so optimized, and knowing how to do every single room is
like,
perfected. It's already perfected.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, I know if I look at it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, I know I could probably save 20 seconds in Castle Tower. Like, if I learn all these different strategies perfectly, but guess what? I like doing my slow dinner bell strat. Like, that's fine.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like, I want to know a lot of the strats, but a problem is a lot of those don't necessarily translate to rando, right? They're NMG specific strats, where in rando, you have to be more adaptable because you never are guaranteed equipment in a certain room. Right. And
exactly.
So it's tough. Like, it's definitely interesting to see those that like or enjoy that grind and can get better at NMG. And there's, like you said, those like us who are just kind of like, I'll learn a little bit, but I don't want to know everything because I'm not going to remember or retain all of it. I don't do it enough. But so, yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty much what it is. Like, I just don't have that. I admire the idea of being able to do that room a very specific way, but I just prefer the variability. I prefer the unknown. You know, I want to someday have, you know, those races where it's just like, here, be able to do the race this way.
Yeah. Yep. For sure. For sure. One aspect that we haven't really touched on yet is your commentary. I would say you're one of the top 3 commentators in all of rando. Where does that come from? Do you have a background in any sort of commentary, or is it just kind of natural?
So commentary, no, like, but I guess what it comes from is streaming before, and trying to have that, you know, that conversation, I think in general helps. Like, you know, I can stream and talk, and I know some people, like, if they start talking, the execution goes out the window. So like,
my hand is raised right now. That's me, 100%. I cannot talk and play at the same time.
So there's that. There's the, like, some of the other stuff is I was like, music's always been big for me. So like, performance there, like, that's, you know, that helps. But when it came to doing commentary, what happened was I was in Plando 2020. So I didn't get to do a tournament, and I was like, or I didn't get to do mentor. So I was like, oh, let's join Plando. This is going to be fine. It's not going to take up all this time.
Sure.
Fast forward to 2021, and I was still in it.
Yeah.
But I did a couple of commentaries for Plando then, and then I was like, League, I think, came around, and I was like, oh, you know, maybe I'll do some commentary in Open League or other stuff. And Drosy contacted me. He was like, why don't you do the invitational comm, you know, sign up to be one. I was like, I've commed like 3 races or 4 races in my life. Do you think this is a good idea? Even he's like, no, do the commentary. And so that's all it was, really, was like, I credit Drosy so much for kind of just telling me, like, you don't have to wait. You're there enough to do this, and you should.
Yeah.
And I just enjoy it. Like, whether it's, I want to impart knowledge. I don't want to I don't want to be personal about it. Like, I can do that, but I think it's more fun, you know, having watched it, like, what got me into it, and being able to see or just hear somebody explain the game and what's going on is interesting. I enjoy teaching. Like, that's part of it.
I think that might be a big part of it, because one of the aspects that of commentary is tough, right? Like, there's so many commentators that are just, they're not very good at it. Unfortunately, it's just kind of, talking is tough, and being knowledgeable and be able to, especially when you have a co-com, can make things a little bit different as well. But I think you do a good aspect of sharing knowledge without making it feel like you're in school. You know what I mean? Like, does that make any sense? Like,
yeah,
it's a very naturalistic way of sharing what's going on and being clear and thorough without it being boring. I don't know. I think that's what kind of makes you a good com.
It's tough because, like, when I watch this or when I've listened to people, it's, nothing against other commentators. It's just, I don't know, how many times can you see somebody pull this item out of this location and make it fun? You've heard it all before. I feel like we've seen it all before. So to me, it's, let's see if people will find this fun or something interesting that's going on. Like, maybe give a little bit of like I would do this or that or the other thing, but how much more can I say to make it, it's about the people on the screen more than it is about me. Sure.
God, we're running out of time. There's so much to go over. I'm kind of curious about the whole season 4 aspect, because you talked about the approach that your team had, which was a little bit more casual, like you said, mentioning learning Super Metroid that season. But you guys went all the way to the finals and you earned your way into the Invitational. Can you just kind of share your mindset as you went through that season, and was getting into the Invitational the goal, or was it just let's have a good time and whatever happens?
That was the goal.
Okay.
Like, there was, it sounds so backwards to say that, like, you wanted to make Invitational, but you guys took it so casually. It was, we had been playing these people. Like, we knew everybody in Open. I look at those teams and it wasn't that we thought, okay, we're going to just steamroll everybody. It was just, we knew what our strengths were. We had been playing together for that long, and we knew, like, I've been playing those people how many years? 2 years now I've been playing these people. I know roughly how we compare. Like, I'm not going to magically get a ton better over the course of this season. So the goal always was, like, we better make top 4.
Yeah.
Because that was the hard part. Like, there was that, how do we motivate ourselves to continually practice every day when week in, week out, we kind of knew that we should, like, on paper, we're a favorite.
Sure. Yeah. But it's also, being a favorite, sometimes even not thinking about it, easy to overlook kind of your matchups. And honestly, you guys didn't do that because you had such a successful season. Or did you? Were you just that good that you blew everyone out of the water? I'm not sure.
I mean, we had a successful season. I think we had a couple losses in the regular season. And we had scares. Like, I want to say Cross Keys, I was on paper a massive favorite over my opponent. And weird how I remember this, but, like, I think I left Boots in Sphere 1 for an hour and a half, and they got it and won, like, the first 30 minutes.
Okay.
And I won the race by like 3 minutes.
Wow.
Maybe, or less. It was one of those races where I was just like, brud, like, that's rando. So
yeah, for sure. So when you accomplish the goal, because you don't actually have to win the entire thing to qualify for the Invitational, you got to make the top 4. When that happens, how were you feeling? Because it looks like you went 4 games for the against Zelda and Chill to earn your invitation. So kind of did it feel like after that mission accomplished, the rest is all house money?
The weight is gone. Let's just go for it.
Yeah.
And like, that was the thing, is the 4 teams we played in open playoffs that year were all people that, like, I like to talk to. Rando babies, now toddlers, like those are people I'm close to. And at the time, you know, a little bit different makeup of the team, but like I'm still close with them. Zelda and Chill, like I talk to those people a bunch. The Foxes was another team that like I had interactions with, and then Bottles, the same thing. Like I think that was the team that I hadn't talked to. Like Ninjembro, Maniacal, and Barnage. I hadn't really talked to the three of them too much. Like they're definitely a bit more of like the guys who'd been around for a while, but still a group that was like, you know, it was cool to talk to all these people for sure.
Sure. So it feels like you're racing friends more than anything, right?
Definitely. And I think that's what makes it so good is, you know, even this season, looking through the races, it's like each week, it's not been so much strangers. They're definitely people that I'm like, okay, this is fun. You know, these are people I want to play and people I want to hang out with. Sure.
Did you ever, I'm not sure, are you on the council, or were you ever considered thinking about running for the council or any of that stuff?
I've probably put in 2 or 3 times.
Okay.
I'm going to probably the next time it comes up. I want to. I enjoy this too much. It's too important to me to not want to. I
see.
I want to contribute in that way, and I'll apply again and we'll see what happens. You know, I look at the people on it and it's like, I understand why. Like, I understand, you know, it's hard to pick, you know, between however many people apply. Like it's unenviable. Like,
sure.
That's, sure. I don't know how they get it down to make the picks. I think part of it for me is how long I've been here now. Like, I know 3 years, maybe, or 2.5 years now. But at the same time, like, I feel like we're, like my year of, or the newer crowd, the post ladder, post mentor tourney, like group, I'd like to see more voices from this time, I think. And I think that's part of it is like being able to say, like, I think the only person from like my quote unquote generation right now is like Vortex. And like, I like, he's a close friend, but I want more people from our group to be able to, you know, have some, because I think that's important, is that, you know, the perspectives. It's fun talking to the older crowd and be like, why do you enjoy this part of the game? You know, I think when the whole thing about progressive versus non-progressive bows comes up, like, I want to know why people enjoy non-progressive bows. I hate them. Like, I hate the idea of silvers and bow being separate, but the older crowd loves it. Like, why?
I'm definitely part of that crowd. I'm trying to articulate why, but I'm not going to try to make the argument for that here.
Yeah, no, it's fine. Like, I understand a difference of opinion there, but it's so much of what it comes down to for me is
100%.
You know, there's definitely that different feel for when you start playing the game.
Sure. And maybe that's what maybe for me, that's what it was, is that's what I knew and enjoyed. And so it's like, yeah, that's kind of what I like. I don't know. That's one of those ones where you could definitely debate back and forth, and I could understand your point and you could understand my point. We could still end up in the same spot, or, you know, that's a tough one. Gosh, we're already out of time, and we got to get to the tilt question. So,
okay,
let me ask you, how do you handle tilt? Whether it's in the middle of the race or at the end of the race, I feel like I've never seen you get tilted publicly. So do you have a process? Okay. How do you handle it? I really
don't want to. I don't want people to know that. I don't want people to see that. I don't like that emotion, I guess would be the way to put it.
I see.
But I do. Like, I think what's helped is, I think if I played just this, like, it goes back to what we talked about. I like gaming, and if I'm having a streak of not enjoying rando, I can put on something else. I'll play a different game. Like, you know, I'll finish my league race and maybe it doesn't go my way. You know, oh, I lost a race that I thought I could win against an opponent my level, or like I feel even with, and something doesn't turn out my way today. I'm not happy. But I don't want it to show in an interview. I don't want it to show in other things. After the race, I'll play something else. I'll play a game that I don't have to consider it. And then later that night, maybe I can play Zelda and be past it already. Like, I think that's just so important. And being able to just understand that portion of the game is being able to say, you know, you can do everything in your power that screams to you it's the right decision. I can get this item here and it tells me to go elsewhere and I should have done something else. like, I get it. Sometimes it works out, sometimes it doesn't, you know. If it was just who could play the game the best, the champions of main, cross keys, league, we wouldn't have to play this game the way we do. You know,
Sure. Yeah.
I look back at who's won main tournaments since I've been paying attention, and not that they're undeserving ever. Like, that's never the issue in my mind. It's just, you might not have expected it because they're not that household name. They're not Andy, right? Like, I know that's kind of the normal thing people would go to, but like, that's what it is that, you know, rando just doesn't guarantee somebody's going to win a race just because of this.
Right.
And that's what's fun and also frustrating.
So you, instead of taking your anger out or whatever that emotion, that tilt brings on your opponent through yelling, whatever, you just kind of allow yourself to let it go through playing other different things or getting your mind off of it then, right? Is that kind of what you're saying?
Like, that's my goal, is to just get that done. And it can take time, and maybe in a private voice call, I'll voice my frustration. Like, I can't believe this person made that play. Like, I completely disagree with it.
Right.
What were they thinking? But, you know, I'm not them. Like, that's the thing. Like, I make what I consider the best play. I'm not going to say that, you know, that makes me smarter or better. I was wrong. Oh, darn.
Yeah. I think that's a healthy way of processing. I think it's really good. Before we go, I do want to ask you about League Season 5, because you're one of the few people that I've actually got to talk to you that have earned an invitation into the Invitational and then had an entire season, or almost an entire season in it. Can you tell me a little bit about how Season 5 has gone and what your experience and how things have differed playing in the Invitational and the Open?
I'll be honest, like, our whole goal this season has just been, don't get relegated. And it's different, like, to have that kind of mindset or to be in this situation. You know, these are the people, like, I've always said, I want to play people that are better because it helps me feel like I'm going to get better. I don't have like some grand thing. I think now this year, I think, was fear of getting knocked down again. And I'll be honest, I think that's, like, I look at the teams that have been relegated, and, like, I guess the scary part is seeing so many of them not continue. I see so many relegated teams break up, and I guess that's a worry when you're in that kind of position, is like, you make it this far, you realize you're good enough, and then you just get randoed for a season, and it's not that unrealistic. Like, that's gonna happen. It's rando. Sure. But, you know, you don't want that to happen, because I get it. Like, I don't know, as much as I enjoy, like, I have plenty of friends in Open, I don't want to be in Open. Like, that's the hard part. Yeah. Well, you're safe, right?
We're
safe.
You're not getting relegated this season, and your division is a clusterfuck. You've got you've got OK Dudes with the division clinched. They're at 10-2. Then you've got Be Gone Pot at 7-5, and then you've got 3 teams at 6-6, including yourselves, and 2 teams at 5-7. It's like, who's going to make the playoffs from these 6 teams? It's crazy. It's crazy. Yeah, this has been insane. You know, we realized going into the season, we're like, if we can just get through like the first few weeks, we've got an okay chance here to like do decent. Because I trust my team, like, and we knew like the second half of the season, or especially week 4, co-op veterans was the mode that I just want to play.
Like, I love that
Yeah.
mode so much, and Leo and I had put in so much time the previous season even to start playing it.
Yeah.
So, nope, that's the thing. Like, we knew if we could get through a few of these weeks that we had those matchups, then who knows? So, and here we are.
Yeah, should be fun. I'm excited to see how things shake out in that division and where things go for the playoffs. Well, dude, thank you so much for doing the show.
Yeah, no problem. This has been amazing.
Again, big shout out to Jesse for coming on the show. Was really a fan of hearing his story, and just a huge fan of him and the work that he does, his charity streams, and just him as a person. Just a cool, awesome dude. Like, so laid back, so chill. Really like listening to him and his story. So let me know what you think. Of course, there is more bonus content if you are a sub to the channel. If you subscribe to my channel, twitch.tv/fearagent_, you get access to the extra bonus content that drops with this episode. All of those bonus episodes will be available to everyone at the end of the season, so don't worry if you're not a sub. 216 Weekly happens every Saturday. Will be happening this Saturday. We're going to be doing, gosh, what is it? It's Gold Rush plus Key Sanity. It's chosen by James FNX. So check that out. Again, Saturday, noon Eastern, restreamed on my channel, twitch.tv/fearagent_. This will actually be the last restreamed 216 race of the year, because it is December. I have a lot of stuff going on, just like everyone else. So we will still have the races on the 17th, the 24th, and the 31st, noon Eastern. We'll figure out how we're going to pick out those modes. There will be no restream for those races. So there still will be the 216 Weekly going on in December. There just won't be restreams. 216pod.com has all the links that you need. You can join the Discord from there. A lot of cool conversations going on over there. Great place to hang out. So come hang out in the 216 Discord. Again, 216pod.com has those links to join. Please subscribe to the show wherever you get your podcasts. If you could share it, if you could talk about it, just any sort of engagement helps build the show's audience. Again, thank you all for listening. I really appreciate it. The show's been doing really well. I think that's going to do it. See y'all next week.